Okay, we are live. I'm up there. They got a red light. The numbers clacking away. I get meter bopping when I talk, so I think I'm ready to go. I did my pre-flight systems check, and I think we're ready for. We got ignition, and I think we're ready for takeoff soon. So thank you for being here. This is the Schumann Resonances with Verde. I am your host, Verde Abusto. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Welcome. If you're new here, welcome. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. All of that may seem like a lot, but it'll help you to get the notifications on time in a timely manner, in a way that is to you in a way that's timely. For your notifications, which is important. Like, especially when I'm doing a live chat, go live a premiere, and the damn thing is maybe 40 minutes long, even though I put 5 minutes, a buffer for the length of the, when I set it up, 5 minutes, I have 10 minutes worth of music. And so I try and give people time to get in the room. But, like if people get the notifications when they happen to notice when their notification pops up half an hour into my premiere, they've missed the hour, so I do my best to kind of to a rambling introduction up to the point that I gotta do the material for that purpose. So it's important for you, the more you interact with the channel, getting back to what I'm saying, the more you interact with the channel, the more quicker the notifications will come up for you. Right? It's just the way the algorithm works. And if you haven't been over to a channel in a month or something, you want to go over there to make sure that they're still on, that, that they haven't put something out that you don't know about. So that's just the way it works. And so hit the subscribe. And when you do that, please hit the all notification bell, select all, or you will likely get none of the notifications. That's not me. I'm not making this up. If you don't select all, you're not really truly a subscriber, because after all, if you were, you'd have selected all, right? Mark Pyers, he had a discussion with them where, they let him know if if your subs don't select all, they're not truly a sub, like, a subscriber. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, so please be a real true subscriber and select the all button so you get your notifications. I appreciate that, and you will as well. All right, so on that cheery note, again, I do the 10 minutes of an Aronmix here, and I want to try and not do too much of the mix because, as I said the last video, some of the music winds up being banned in certain places, and the video is not available. Like New Zealand is one of them over the music. So it's just something in my mind I'm thinking of not going too crazy with the music. And what I'm going to have to do on some of these is make a different version without music in it. And so I'll, like the one that's 3 hours long, I'm going to chop that into sections and whatever. So my New Zealand and wherever people can see it. As a station gets, your channel gets bigger, it's harder to say, well, I don't have people over there when, you have people all over the world that watch your stuff. So it's something to consider. But anyway, on that note, as I've said before, the channel is a vehicle for the Aronmix. And so I'm not going to get rid of the Aronmix on the channel, just, have videos that won't have the music on it. It's just what I got to do. I've done that in the past. I got to do that. I have 8 days before my Adobe shuts off my use of Premiere. It's unlicensed. So I have eight days to, do that with the videos to take out, I'm getting ready to move the station. The Adobe people know everything's getting ready to kind of close out, and that's why I'm doing this. Kind of shifting gears here, 444. I have already explained why I'm doing this. Kind of, it's a personal thing from me. This is a kind of a birthday gift from me to you of something very personal that I've known a lot of this stuff for a while. Some of the stuff I'm talking about here, I've known it since like puberty, and I've been I don't want to say reanimating it, but I've been rediscovering some of it, and for the purposes of talking with you folks about it and bringing up a a lot of these topics that don't get discussed that are really important for you. The humans, the power of the junk DNA, the power of personality, the power of the name, power of the blood. These are all distinctly, notably human things that make us human. They're a part of the human experience, right? So I'm going to we're going to more or less pick up where we were the last video, and we're talking about. I have up on the screen behind me. I have up the 9 parts of the human soul. So I have taken some of this out of context for the purposes here, but it's important for you to understand that it's not, this isn't me just making this up, and that we do stand on the giants of the races and the cultures that have gone before us. The Egyptians were, their pyramids are still there. So I mean, they still have the remnants of the civilization there, and they were a dominant world dominant uh, society, civilization, whatever. So I don't want to go too much into the soul of the ancient Egyptians, but it's relevant. Part of this is relevant, and I think it's important for like they had a very advanced. They were around for a while. They had an advanced culture, and as happens, it's like, well, if they were so advanced, what happened to them? Well, the Earth crouches up, makes it, the Earth has the final say, and things that were a fertile crescent become no longer fertile, and things happen, things change, and like other cultures, as is the way, as is the cycle, other cultures become the world dominant powers, right? That's how it happens. That's why and how it happens, right? The Egyptians had a nice run, the Sumerians had a nice run, the Babylonians had a nice run, and yet, right, they may be gone, yet we're still stuck with some of the things that they left us. The sexagesimal system of the seconds, minutes, hours, and degrees of measuring, our timekeeping system, of the mapping, the cartography system. That's how they give you distance, not just furlong, not just you know, um, the nautical, but as cartography, it's seconds, minutes, hours, and degrees when they're doing map making, right? And that's the timekeeping system we have. It's still around, thousands of years later, still being used right now. And the metric system wasn't developed with Western civilization. The metric system has been around for a long time. 10, powers of 10. You have 10 and then break it into another 10 and then another 10. That system predates the memory of humans, right? It's been around much longer than, in fact, the English system, actually. They both have been existing as timekeeping, as measuring systems since the days of the Sumerians, right? That is a fact. That is an actual, real, true fact, right? So, by extension, there are still things that the learned people before us knew that we should consider, and that's why we're coming into this. That's why we're coming into this. The cult of personality. This is what we're talking about, of how and why, of maybe I should even talk about what a cult is. The root of culture is cult, or at the core, at the root of culture is cult. Okay, and we're talking about what moves people here. Why is it so difficult for the average human to change in a positive direction? Summarily, how is it that once once a human gets the scent, starts going after, like, down the rabbit hole, and can actually manage to, like the power to know, to want to know, the desire to want to know can lead a person to suspend fear and disbelief and what it would be reasonable suspicion, reasonable fear, a healthy fear of something is not there, it's gone. In place of that has been the staying power, the pulling power of the personality. That someone is that strong of a personality that will allow you to suspend your disbelief, suspend your criticism, your suspicion, your skepticism, all of that. How does that happen? How is that? That was happening not just then, but it is happening now. That even with all of the information that's available, yet still people can't make their way through it and determine and discern the good from the bad, and on top of it often will gravitate toward the bad, toward the negative, toward the damaging, the poison, the toxin, right? It seems to be the way, and not question it, but just go along with the flow, go along with the power of the personality, right, of the leaders. And I was born in 1968, so in the 70s, I remember the People's Temple in Guyana, Jonestown, right? Jim Jones. He led a cult in Guyana. He was here, I forget where in the States, he was here in the States, and he became under federal investigation for, tax fraud, for taking people's life savings, blah, 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 bilking people. He's a religious leader. And then he goes to Guyana, and as they started closing in on him, the Kool-Aid, cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, I believe it was. So when they talk about drinking the Kool-Aid, that's at least from one of the first that I know of that expression came from. Of course, it was LSD laced in the 60s, like there is that as well. And so, the acid tests. So like, I guess before that, Ken Casey talks about this in the Merry Pranksters and all of that. So I guess there's the acid tests. But societally speaking, like that you drink the Kool-Aid being like a negative thing, like that really kind of came out of Jonestown. Before drinking the acid test, you don't hear that expression anymore, but you do hear drinking the Kool-Aid and that being often a negative connotation thing. So you're free to believe what you want. However, I would humbly submit that's where, one of the factors that came in with a negative connotation of, drinking the Kool-Aid, which is separate from, again, the acid tests, that was a Kool-Aid based thing, but they didn't always put in Kool-Aid as a punch or as whatever, just a thing. Anyway, and other doomsday cults have also used Kool-Aid. So it's hard to get around, anyway. So, but that's just off the mark here. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid though. So this whole series here, I've already done the introduction. I've done a number of videos on this. Hopefully, maybe somewhere I'll put the links to the videos in the description or something. I don't know. Don't have your hopes up too high for that. But I've already done the introduction, and so I've explained a little bit about. So at this point, there's four. Just kind of get us up to snuff. There's a review, if you will. There's four of the different aspects to the Egyptian soul that we talked about. One was the body itself, which is the Khat, Khat, Khat. Then there's the Ba, Ba, which is the personality, which can fly off and return back to the body, which has been mummified. And then you have the Ren, Ren, which is the name, the sacred name you're born with, that you don't give to anyone because that's your sacred name. And then there's the Ib, the Jib, or Ib, IB, which is the heart. Okay. And that's when the Egyptians talk about the heart, it's not a metaphorical thing. They literally mean heart. And that's the seat of intuition, thought, your will, and wisdom, basically. A lot of that equals all that wisdom. Right. All right. And then there's, so there's those four, elements of the souls that we've come in contact with, and you know what, right? We're seeing how they apply to our everyday life. Now here, 3,000 or whatever, 3,000 plus years later, we see how that applies in our daily lives. All right, so this gets us caught up to kind of where we're at. I'm going to do a 10-minute music break to let everyone get into the room. This is going to be a smoke length break, if you will. So I don't know, may or may not be 10 minutes. But anyway, if you got them, get medicated. If not, I will still see you on the other side. All right, we got music? Nice. Oh, nice. Nice. All right, see you in a little bit.
is what I choose. Can't be taboo. When I walk through. Oh, girl. Show me some love. I ain't here for the drugs. You better show me some love. Yeah.
Show me love. Show me love. Show me love. Better show me some love.
Where the freaks at? Yeah. Where the freaks at? Where my freaks at? Where my freaks at? Tell me how I don't miss. Tell me that you can handle it. Tell me that you need me. That you need me. Show me some love. I ain't here for the drugs. You better show me some love. Yeah.
Show me love. Show me love. Show me love. Better show me some love.
Tell me that you exist. Tell me that you are all you love. Tell me that you are all. Tell me that. Tell me that. Show me some love. I ain't here for the drugs. You better show me some love.
Show me love. Show me love. Show me love. Better show me some love.
But Jimmy chill is what I choose. Can't be taboo. When I walk through. Oh, girl. Show me some love. You better show me some love. Show me some love. I ain't here for the drugs. Better show me some love. Yeah. Show me some love. I ain't here for the drugs. Better show me some love. Yeah. Show me some love. I ain't here for the drugs. Better show me some love.
Let's bring it back. All right. We have, let's pause you. All right. We are I think we're at cruising altitude. Hold, please. Okay, I'm back. I I'm happy to be here doing this. I like making the video. I like doing this generally as work that I'm not. It's volunteer. I'm not getting really compensated for it. Donations. This is donation based. And I like doing this. I'm happy to do it. But it is a lot of work to do the studio, to get everything all in order and to make sure that everything is, for a good production. It just takes a lot of attention as a technician, and then have to be the talent and make sure that everything is going while you are the talent as well, So it's difficult enough to make these, and then on top of it, when you get people who are on your case about stuff, or who are negative, or who are just don't make it a happy experience, then it's like you really questions, why the f am I doing this? Like Tommy, Captain Tommy the lifeboat, he had that in Wages. A lot of people, they, were doing this, have, in Dutch sense, they came after him and like, yeah, this is definitely this on the front lines. Just, it is, like, as easy as it may be to make a video, like that's in itself, to do one of these correctly and have everything line up. And, for every hour you see, there's 3 hours behind this in production. Not just for me, but for all of us, any of us who do this, right? There's a lot of production that goes into it, and especially there's even more time if you're going to market it, right? So there's another hour per hour of time that you got to spend marketing and being out there and getting your name out there and your work out there. Holy crap. Right? It really is a team effort, So that's why it's important for you guys to share this, right? And to leave comments for not just me, but for any of the content creators that you like. You make sure to leave them comments. Every time you watch a video that you like, say something. Thank you. This is good job, right? I know it takes a lot to do one of these, and thank you for letting us in on your life, right? And that's, you got to understand, that's part of what the shift in all of this is that, like, the play, this is part of one of the things I have up there in the browser, the morality play Everyman in 1505, right? Got the date up right here, 1505, just so happens, right? It was the dawning age of the Aquarian protocol, the Aquarian age, the first dawning rays in literature and in theater that you saw, that you now see the evidence of everywhere around you. The play Everyman, right? Huge deal at the time. Not so big of a deal now. Our modern day Everyman was Andy Warhol, who said in the future, every person will get 15 minutes fame. Right? Like, that's anchored down. Andy Warhol anchored down what is otherwise a rewording of the morality play Everyman, right? Another great example, Waiting for Godot. And if you're familiar with that, I saw the high school, I think when my sister was in high school, her class did that, and I watched it. It's just right? And I believe I read that in my lit and comp class when I was going for my communication degree. Lit and comp 102 might have been, Waiting for Godot. There's just two people that are there who meet randomly. They're waiting for the same guy, Godot, who never shows up. Right? They're just waiting, and then they kind of have Albert Camus. Good example, this whole thing of my decision of what I'm going to do, and on and on and on and on it goes. Recent authors, right, who are now, right, we're steeped in the age of Everyman. The kings and the queens, right, they're all looking to downsize. The nobility is looking to downsize. The army who goes and kills people, they have an identity crisis of who they are, and they're going woke and like all of this shit to down of the everyday level of the the everyday person level is the star, right? And that's part of what the ego of everyone's ego getting in their way is that you kind of are the star of your own drama. You're not the star of my drama in my life, right? You can't impose your f- fame or whatever on my life because I got to lead this, right? But I'll help you co-star in your drama because you're also in my drama as well. In the theater of what's happening, we are interconnectedness from person to person, personality to personality, hooking up, connecting, binding together, yoking, like two horses yoked together, right? That's sort of the promise of the new age, of this new protocol, the Aquarian protocol, not the new age. I've talked about that. The new age is not the same thing as the Aquarian age. I need to go into more detail about that because I don't know if I really explained it accurately, but I gave an introduction. I've explained this elsewhere. It's important to know, it's important to understand the difference that the new age is not the Aquarian age. The new age is the overlap between when of the old transferring into the new, and the accounts cashing out and all of that, right? New accounts checking in, right? The players who are going to be here from this point forward are checking in. You're seeing them checking in, and I guess I'm kind of in there. Who am I? My show popped up, my channel popped up in the last few years. I've been working behind the scenes, but like, whoop, I'm one of the players because I tell you about Schumann resonances, atmospheric electromagnetics. I give the really deal from 40 years worth of my experience in that, and the fact that I have officially gone through my my awakening. I've gone through my contract. I've finished my contract. I've ascended. I have officially ascended, and I'm still here in this form, even though I would otherwise be gone. I'm still here in this form, so that I can help you folks who are here, wanting to know about Schumann resonances, the atmospheric electromagnetics, right, and ascension, and how all this works with your life and your pathway, right? So it's part of let's get back to the material. All right. So uh I've explained why I have taken these, from the ancient civilization. I've taken it out of culture that's, cultures that are well gone, and I've explained, generally, in a general sense, why it's still relevant. You use the Sumerian timekeeping system and think nothing of it, don't realize anywhere in any way, shape, or form that it stretches back 6,000 years, right? We didn't invent it. The metric system, zero as a number, stretches back much further than that, right? We use a zero all the time, don't even think anything of it, right? So, therefore, ergo est, right? This is something that I would humbly submit to you that it is still now important to know, right? Even though it's from, oh, please, even though it's from a bygone error, right? This is when we talk about, astral viewing, astral projection, right? This is a good kind of illustration for what's happening, flying, right? You leave your body, fly, right? All right. So, it's important to understand, where, why, wherefore, how, what all that this is relevant to us, and that, the bird metaphor, the bird simile, analogy, is really important to understand where, why, before we get there. This stated, all right, so with this said, the individuality of humans has been a long running pursuit for humanity in pursuit of our place here. Or so, their purpose. What are we doing here? The idea of, let's see if I can do this. I have, as I've said before multiple times, I have two screens. So I have the bigger one that I can see a little more detail, and then I have the monitor screen, which is like I like looking at the monitor because the cameras are facing that way, and so when I'm looking at the one with a little more detail, it's it's I know it's I'm looking that way, and it's like all right, whatever, it's good, a different angle, but it's like no, I kind of like looking. I my design ethic. I like looking forward when I'm talking, and because it's like I'm talking to you. You all know that I'm talking to you when I mention you by name: Bradley, Julie, Jackie, Trish, um, Mama, Mama Bear, Wages, Mark Pyers when he shows up, Captain Tommy show, like it's part of the family. I do this to you as part of the family, right? So I'm like, it's part of the design ethic that I look forward. So I'm trying to remind myself, through saying this out loud, the quiet part out loud, that trying to remember to look forward and look at the camera. All right. So onward and upward, even though I can see it better on there. All right. So the idea of self, ego, personality, the individuality of the self, the free will, etc., are long-standing notions at the core of who and what it is to be a human, right? And I think we'd all agree with that. Most, if not everyone, would agree with that. Especially doctors and professionals that work in the mental health field. That's one of the biggest issues of humans is the pathologies that come with human and the narcissism and all of this stuff of your ego, your sense of what do you own or what's yours, your boundaries and all these kind of things, myself and me and mine, my individuality, my identity as a person. Oh my God, right? All of this stuff you can take a lifetime mastering, just understanding this whole school, a whole branch of philosophy. I don't even know what the element of us as humans that's intangible and yet it is there, very much there. Uh, self, ego. It doesn't exist. You can't find ego anywhere. It's not in any part of the brain that you can remove, except for the fact that my guides tell me that that's the abstractification of the human mind, the ability of the brain itself to separate, to individuate, to individualize, to isolate, to move at a higher frequency, to be able to isolate away from the physical body, the physical conditions, like physically what's around you, that you can make that kind of switch in the brain. The ego takes over, the egoic mind, the abstractification process takes over, and you can literally mind over matter yourself out of things that you wouldn't, that should have killed you or damaged you, somehow by keeping that, that will to self-preservation, me keeping myself alive at all costs, is a survival mechanism. And as with all survival mechanisms, instincts, it can be misused. You get a person gets misled through rhetoric. The brain, the upper functions start working, and then the electricity starts firing away. You're thinking, and you're not grounding that thought. You're not realizing that all that thought needs to be grounded in order for it to be realized and actualized into the body. So this is one of the core things that humans have been trying to figure out since time immemorial, since we've been given the ability to think individually as sentient conscious species. And I'm talking about where the record goes back 7,000 years, right? You, I am not of the view that modern humans, of the type that we have living now, that modern humans made the pyramids or made any of the monuments that are around the world that are on nodal grid points that are going to be so important in the days coming up, right? Lots of monuments, right? The temples, pyramids down in Mexico, South America, Central America, Mesoamerica, they call that. All of it. They're there for a reason. And I might add, there is a whole lot of buried monuments that are under the water that will be coming up soon enough. The walls of Bimini off of the coast of Japan, blah, 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 a lot of huge statues that are on nodal grid points, all these kind of things. Uh, those are, I forgot where I was going with that. The monuments, oh yeah, they weren't built by modern humans that we know now. You know, you look at what modern humans can build and it's, the cement cracks in 5 years. I'll just leave it at that. Epoxies, polymers, resins, uh, mastic. Do you know what any of these words mean? Like that's building material, plasterboard, chipboard. This is what our world is constructed of now. Steel girders, with glass, like, all right, steel is durable, the glass isn't. Everything's chrome plated and shiny, and they have to keep it treated, or it starts instantly. The more your alloy. How do I say this? The higher a temperature the alloy you produce will create an easier ability to be absorbed back by the elements. I don't know how to explain it better than that. It's a high heat. It produces it creates a certain something that is a type of durable in one way, and yet breakable in other ways, right? Like I'll just put it that way. So the building materials that they use now, right, require in a lot of cases a high heat for them to set. I don't just say that, and they need to be treated, right? If left to the elements, like the steel alloys that they use for the high strength would rust up like that. They seal it off with fire retardant material, like, so is good enough. But the high tensile strength, etc., blah 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 steel, it submits itself to rust easier than the iron at its core. Let's put it that way. Or the rust is not as intrusive. I'm not sure. The oxidation process, right? Anyway, so that's sorry for that side track there. So the individual, the self, the personality, all of this stuff is something that has been a long-standing issue for humans, right? Like just this idea, the notion of who and what we are, right? So this is something that's long-standing for humans, right? And that's part of what the growth of humans entails, takes into account, is this, I don't want to say control, but it's a maintenance of self and the ego and balancing the ego. Not only yours, not only mine, right? You balancing yours, me balancing mine, but us as a society balancing our own ego and not using that survival mechanism as a vehicle to subvert people's free will. I think that's the best way to put it. So on the one hand, I'm taking a scholar. I'm bringing up what the scholars say, right? Like, all right. So I'm looking at what the research says, right? I'm not an Egyptologist, so I don't know. So I'm showing you what the experts say on this, right? So, on the one hand, this gives us the opportunity to help isolate a common element of human experience, which is otherwise inexplicable from the standard model of psychology. So, in other words, you can read all you want about modern psychology and blah 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 blah, but what they talk about is a much better explanation for psychology, a longer lasting, better explanation for psychology and how to ascend. Right. This is what we're talking about. Not just you living and surviving, but growing and moving on, moving upward and onward and upward, right? That's what I say. That's why you say that, right? Onward and upward, right? That's your ascension, onward and upward, right? Follow the pathway. Don't go on some crazy, wilderness journey and go off the beaten path too far, because you then become sustenance for things that live off the beaten path. Right? That's a good reason for sticking with the beaten path, is that, the creatures that are around there know that, like there's a pathway that is for the humans and all of that. And so they generally stay off of that path and stick to their own place. However, once you start going into their neighborhood, you become sustenance for them, right? And so that also applies to the spiritual world and the spiritual realm as well, and experimenting with, like being a spiritual thrill seeker. There was a group on Facebook that was in their name, spiritual thrill seeker, and I had a debate with someone over what a spiritual thrill seeker is. That maybe that's not such a great idea. You go looking for just anything, you'll find anything. And maybe it's something more than you can handle. And then the response was, well, when you're at that level, you don't have stuff to fear. And I'm like, well, first off, when you go saying something like that, I know you're not at that level, right? And I can say of myself and the training I've done that no matter what level you're at, there's always a bigger, badder fish, bigger, badder monster than you. And if you go into that with an arrogance, likely you'll get cut down rather quickly, right? Because you don't have the necessary respect for the things that will hold you prisoner. They won't kill you, they'll use you for food, was the comment I made in response to spiritual thrill seeking, right? You go out looking for, a thrill, you may be captured and used as a source of food for the entity. And that's, I assure you, not something that you want, right? So they changed the name to Gateway, or spiritual, Gateway or something, which I thought was a much better idea. And I knew it had to do with the conversation I had with them about, spiritual thrill seeking. Right? So part of that's one of the reasons why people get, caught up with what should be recreational use of substances, is that they ingest a very powerful medicine that is nigh on to close to killing them because of its power, and yet it takes them away somewhere, right? That's in another dimension, and you were held prisoner because you were thrill seeking with something that was recreation, and you didn't give it its due respect, right? And it's the same thing here with the power of the personality and the soul and the blood and the name and all of this stuff, that it needs to be given due respect for the power that it has, right? And modern psychology, getting back into the text here, modern psychology does not come anywhere close to respecting the innate ability, the innate power of these things of which I'm talking about. Right? The orthodox scientific institution doesn't know much about consciousness other than the fact that it does not originate in the human mind. Energy may exist in a form undifferentiated, meaning it's kind of formless, yet in the material realm, we need it to be manifest through the thinking organ in order for it to be real. So we need to cognate in our brain what it was, like, rationalize in some way, reason, rationalize whatever the thing was in order for it to be real, and in order for the ego to basically latch into what that was, what it is, what's happened, right? That's because, as I've talked about elsewhere, your sanity depends on you figuring out what's right, what the right way up is, what way you're going, like what's happened, right? There's a lot of things to figure in that. It's a very complex, and in order for us to, feel safe and sane, we need to, acclimate those different elements into our thinking and into our DNA successfully, right? And it's, and so it's part of the whole thing here is explaining how, this all functions and weaves in with the person and the personality, and why it does have so much power behind it, right? And even in people that you don't care about, you don't like, you don't love, it's like it's difficult to just ignore someone because of that power of the person, right? They're not just it's not, a person is not a chair. They're not an inanimate object. There is, the seat of the soul, the seat of the Almighty within that person. And so that's why it's really super important to treat all people with respect that they deserve, right? As if it's you, a different version of you, right? It's just simple. I don't always have that because some people piss me off and drive me crazy, and I would rather just, like, you know what, I will just distance, right? I'll love you at a distance, and I'll pray for you, right? And yet, it falls to me that I can't hold myself to whatever interchanges I've had in the past with that person. This is a guiding principle. If they are showing growth and they have come to me, or if they've come to the group and they've apologized for something they did in the group, like that's, can't stay mad at them. Can't stay mad at them. They're coming to you looking for acceptance. I can't be the shit to say, no, you don't get the right-handed fellowship. I was mad at you before, we had it out. I said what I said, and it caused you, I was mad, said what I said, caused you to see things in a light you hadn't seen before. Then you went to the group and apologized. At that point, you are working the program, a program of recovery, right? Not just of you as a addict or you as a shit, but as a human, right? That you realize the sum total of your action was you caused someone to leave the group and not come back. You didn't know that. I saw. So I reminded him. I told him. All right? And once this person knew the consequences of his actions, that he was just being a shit, you didn't have the right to say what you said to that kid, And once the person apologized to the group, like, I need to drop it on my end, right? I am looking for my heart to be weighed against the feather. That's what I remember of all things, of all of this, that the personality, me, who I am, my actions, what I believe, which is ultimately coming out in what I do, right? What I think and feel and believe doesn't mean anything ultimately behind what I say and what I do. First, what I say, because that's usually the first thing, but what I do is almost more important than what I say. And so, if I can't keep all that in sync, then I'm in trouble. I'm not going anywhere. I'm back to the swamp and the sludge. Anyway, all right. So this is probably a good time for some music. I need to take a little break and have some coffee and whatever. So, as always, smoke them if you got them, drink it if you have it, and I will meet you back on the other side of the mix here. All right. So, thank you. Ooh, wrong one. Sorry. Okay, bring it back. Bring it on home. Bring it on home. Yeah, so I had to. The other one was kind of sputtering for some reason. When I do this, I got a lot open on my laptop. I get the program, I get a bunch of tabs. Like there's a crazy amount of tabs I have open on just this one browser, and I have a bunch. The browser open a number of times with a bunch of different tabs in each of them. It's got to be at least 120 tabs open in a bunch of different browsers. Uh, just a different bunch of different material for videos, a or a couple different, like this, a series of videos. There's a bunch of stuff. I'm all using one browser for that video. So, and there's a browser set up. I still have to make videos of that I'm probably not ever going to. Um, I know that you didn't need to know that. I'm telling you anyway. At any rate, thank you for being here. Onward and upward. So I got to get back to the material here. Things happen here differently than they do elsewhere. The veil of Maya, the so-called veil of forgetting, makes things operate differently here. The veil clouds the ability to see things clearly, right? And the fact is that the planet itself, the liquid water and just the planet itself is a very unique place. Like all of this setup is just a very unique and interesting experiment. Right? Out on the far-flung reaches of the galaxy, right? It's just a little oasis of a neat little thing happening here, right? We are alone largely, but we've been left alone because, to figure out our own destiny, right? And the other star races and whatever aren't helping because we're supposed to be doing it ourselves. We're supposed to be helping ourselves. We're allegedly so intelligent. Well, put that intelligence into helping people that have much far less than you, right? It requires a will to want to do that. It's not that you can't technologically do that or that it's not feasible or you can't make money. It's that, no, you just don't have the will to do that. And that's part of the problem as well of why, not everyone is going to be making it on, right? It's not a foregone conclusion, right? And at a certain point, the people who have decided that they're going to be still doing the worst of the worst, you got to distance yourself from that, right? And choose to believe that it doesn't happen is not the way of dealing with it, right? That's as bad as it happening, right? You let it happen. Right? Anyway, that's part of the cleanup, right? That's part of the cleanup, right? And that's one of the things that is important about here in the cyclical thing of how it all works and why and wherefore, that the earth has been holding back for as long as it has, and it's been as calm as it has for as long as it has, for a reason, to allow people to do the right thing and to progress along positive spiritual lines. Right? Say that. But the time for the accounting is coming to an end soon. Perception becomes the primary means through which we view the world as though it's scanned darkly. So my perception is the lens, basically how I see everything, good, bad, or otherwise, and it's a subjective experience. The personality is difficult to explain, but it is the part of us that interacts with others. Sometimes our personality is combative, sometimes it's loving or caring, sometimes it's all business or whatever, but the personality is like that part of us that interacts with others, right? That is given a chance to either show your divine nature or to show you're just a turd like everyone else. Right? But that's the opportunity. That's what the world sees. That's what you get judged on. Like pretty much, there's there's more to it, whatever, but within your personality, there is your abilities and your skill and whatever, all the stuff you bring to the table. But as the expression, what you bring to the table. It can be seen as part of the mental, the spiritual, the psychological essence happening on the outskirts of a person, right? Which your personality is a uh, transceiver. It's you give energy from that, but you also take it in from others as well. Right, that's part of it. I don't want to say transactional, but it kind of is. Transitional, I don't think that's the word, but interpersonal. It's a transceiver that you can receive in people's energies as well as you can emote yours. And there's power within the personality depending on where you direct your will, your intention, your desire, your decision, right? The intentionality. It makes a difference because as you focus your mind, as you focus your intention, so too goes energy, thought energy with that. And that is how largely that's part of this is, explained by the morphogenic field of how you can call up people you haven't seen in years. Assumedly, it's you in your mind, you think it's you, but it's part of the field. It's your part of the field in action. And so it's you invoking into the field, and then you receiving back from that the attention or the presence of the other person that you haven't seen in a while, right? Or that you needed to see, or your boss that you just regularly see, just because you just have that timing worked out, just somehow magically you just happen to run across the person bunches of times magically, randomly. That's part of living a multi-dimensional life, is that you're not bound by a clock, but that also means you may also run into the same people multiple times, and so be on good terms with them, because when you do, you just want to be of good character with them so that these interactions aren't terrible. Best way to put it, I think. There are numerous books written on this topic. There's been decades, there's centuries of learned men, millennia, who debate this very thing of the personality, right? From the Egyptians, right? This is not a new thing, right? In our time now, we have the ego as a big, it's a big deal, but that's because it's time for the human ego to blast off into hyperspace, basically, right? Uh, it's entirely possible that none of this actually exists, and it's only a mental construct, and we live in a matrix. All right, that's fine. There is this school of thinking that seeks to level through uniformitarianism, that people don't have a personality, but it's the pathologies that get expressed. So we're all we all don't have individual personalities, but we, express bad behavior or pathologies, right? That's a difficult thing to explain. But it's part of the dreck of the 98% that perhaps, right, you don't have a free will. You just act out of impulse. You act out of instinct, right? That's what the uniformitarianism principle or theory. Theory. I would think, I'm pretty sure it's a theory, right? I know it's not a fact. Okay. Anyway, so all right. So this brings us to the end of this here lesson. So the next one is power in the blood, living on a name, right? The Ren. Right. So um All right, so you see, we have, it looks like, at least one more, couple more, then I'm going to be done with this section. I'm going to be, like I said, closing the studio down soon, within a couple weeks. I'm not sure when the first disbursement from the estate comes, but when that does, as soon as that hits the bank, the studio comes all down. Everything comes down like immediately. Like that's it. So even though the studio should have been packed right now, I'm waiting to the very last minute, as long as I can, and finish these up. Got to do them, and I think I'll at least get to the end of part two. There's five parts to this, so I want to at least get to the end of part two, get that all, out and, broadcast for you guys, so you can, you can see that, and then I'll worry about the next part wherever I have the new studio. So that's generally the plan. Thank you all for being here and, helping me be part of this and making this possible. So in part, your donations on Patreon and your donations through PayPal help make this possible. So anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate the love and support. If you have any questions on the material, please leave it in the comments. I always answer the questions. If there's comments that people make, I don't always answer the comments. But if there's questions, if I see a question mark, I will address the question. Right? So if you have a question, make sure you put a question mark at the end of it. I'm not kidding. Make sure I know it's a question so I can address it as such, right? And I will be happy to. And I don't know when this is coming out as a premiere, but when it does, you're certainly welcome to obviously ask whatever question in the live chat. That's why I do that. I don't get a lot of questions, but people do, we chat, and it's a really good time. It's a fairly, light sort of fun thing, not so much a learning experience in the chat, although I have answered a number of questions, and it is that as well. That's not the first primary thing of people going there to learn, but it's just, to check in as a family and a social thing. It's a fellowship. The first most important part of the live chat is that it's a fellowship, right? And people getting to know each other and talking with each other first. And then the next part after that is that it's a learning experience for some. Can't say for everyone, because I don't know if everyone learns, or they may not have, they may have already known it. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so on that cheery note, I think of music up my sleeve. Yeah, there we go. All right. So I will catch you shortly, and enjoy. Thank you for being here. Okay, this is a really good mix. So I'm gonna, I just keep using the same mix for each video. So I'm gonna just kind of, nudge this back a few minutes, so we can get to the good part here. Like, this is a really good mix. So I'm gonna be ending this in just a few seconds. So thank y'all for being here. Much love, Namaste.